Chapter 1542. Let go of me. Gu Mengmeng turned to look at Cole coldly and said, I don't care how pitiful you are, that's your problem. As long as you hurt Leah, you are my enemy. Cole indeed let go, and Gu Mengmeng immediately ran to Li's side and hugged him tightly in her arms. She patted his back and comforted him. It's not your fault, it's your parents who are perverted and used this method to force you. You didn't do anything wrong, you didn't. Moreover, it's all over, it's all in the past, so it's all right. I'm here. No one can bully you like this in the future, really. Leah vomited until he almost collapsed. He held Gu Mengmeng's face with both his hands and asked with a meek gaze, Gu Mengmeng, what should I do? My bloodline is really unique. It can always slap me after I finally accept my filth and tell me that it's much dirtier than I thought. Gu Mengmeng, will you despise me? Elvis walked to Li's side and scooped Gu Mengmeng up into his arms. He then kicked Leah and said, don't embarrass yourself outside, hurry and get up. Leo looked at Elvis in a daze, and after a long while, he suddenly laughed. From a certain perspective, he and Elvis were really birds of a feather flocking together. They had both eaten their own blood brothers. What kind of strange and miraculous fate was this? He understood Elvis's gaze. Elvis was telling him that Gu Mengmeng would not despise him because of what happened in the past. Wasn't Elvis himself the best example? Patting off the dirt on his body, Leo wiped away the tears at the corners of his eyes and sorted out his emotions. When he looked up again, he was that charming Daddy Leah again. Swaying his large tail, Leah said in annoyance, I was still thinking of using this opportunity to make Gu Mengmeng soften her heart and favor me more. You actually saw through me, annoying. Leo was always good at pretending that everything was fine. The more upset he was, the more he would use this tone to mislead Gu Mengmeng into thinking that everything just now was a trick to fight for his favor. Initially, Gu Mengmeng believed him. But slowly, Gu Mengmeng started to realize something was wrong. But she would not expose Leah. She only wanted to know that Leah had already broken free from Cole's words. That would be enough. Cole stood nearby and laughed softly. He seemed to be laughing at Leah, but also at himself. After laughing for a long time, he took a deep breath and tilted his head to look at Gu Mengmeng. Oh Gu, look, we are the same kind of people. Gu Mengmeng smiled. Gu Mengmeng smiled coldly and said, I am different from you. Cole spread his hands and asked, No, Gu, we are the same. I cut myself open to let you see my misery and fragility, but you still disdained me and comforted him instead. This shows that your gentleness and compassion are only given to the people you care about. As for those you don't care about, you won't even spare a glance, regardless of whether they're dead or alive. Isn't this similar to me? Even if there were corpses floating in front of me and blood flowing like a river, I wouldn't even frown. But as long as you're unhappy, I'll go to war. So Gu, you don't have to reject me. We are the same kind. Only I have the right to accompany you. Only I can truly understand you. Cole appeared in front of Gu Mengmeng in a flash. He caressed Gu Mengmeng's little face with his large hands and said gently, You're right. We are not in the wrong. The ones in the wrong are the weak who were trampled on. Be it me who was treated like a dog in the past, or Leah who was tortured by me. But it's different now. We are all strong enough and have completely changed our roles from the prey to the hunter. The rules are set by me, and I am yours. Digression. Knocking on the blackboard, she drew out the previous hints. Cole used to be the king behind the stray beasts. The idea of Peter torturing Elvis and his brothers was Cole's idea. The perverted idea of brothers killing each other and eating each other was Cole's instruction. The source of inspiration was his own personal experience. Chapter 1543. Cole's other hand slowly grasped Gu Mengmeng's wrist. With a seductive smile, he said, standing on the shoulders of the Beast King, you are at the top of the food chain. Overlooking everything, you are the strongest and no one dares to go against you. Gu Mingming's eyes were wide open. But, before Cole could hold on to Gu Mingming's wrist firmly, it was grabbed by another hand. A cold voice rang in front of him, filled with disdain and sarcasm. It said a simple sentence, "Do you think I'm dead?" Crack. It was the sound of bones being crushed. The history department was shockingly similar. This hand had been crushed by Elvis for the second time. But this time, Cole's powers were much stronger than before. Hence, he turned his other hand into a claw and attacked Elvis. Elvis took a step back and loosened his grip. Cole flexed his dangling wrist and smiled. "Ah, Gu, are you satisfied now?" Gu Mengmeng frowned, not understanding what he meant. "Didn't you say that I only like you so much that I can't even bear to part with a wrist? This time, this hand is crushed again. Although it won't break, it really hurts." Cole smiled as he showed off his broken hand. "You want the spirit of the rocky cliffs, don't you? If you want me to be devastated, you have to give me something sweet to make me more infatuated with you. I have already created a chance for you. Do you want to come over and comfort me, MMM?" Gu Mengmeng looked at Cole coldly. Then, she slowly spat out 2 words. "No." With that, Gu Mengmeng let Elvis carry her away. Looking at Gu Mingming's resolute back view, Cole smiled indulgently and helplessly. He sighed. "TSK, you are indeed the woman that I, Cole, fancy. So ruthless and heartless." With that, Cole did not care about his pride. He leisurely followed Gu Mengmeng to the borders of Sandy's territory. He watched as she bid farewell to Sandy. Hedda and his brothers and Oriton, who was severely injured by Cole, were entrusted to Sandy's family. Due to their relationship with Elvis, the 7 wolves naturally would not shirk away and promised to take good care of the males in the Wolf King's family. On the other hand, Arnold's identity was rather awkward. After all, it was his king who made the other party look half dead. Thus, he didn't say anything and just quietly stood at the side with his head lowered. No one knew what he was thinking. When Gu Mengmeng walked out of Sandy's house, she saw Cole still standing there, smiling without saying a word. He was calmly using his actions to show that no matter where Gu Mengmeng went to spend the winter, he would shamelessly follow her. Gu Mengmeng considered for a while and decided that returning to Saint Nazaire was not a wise choice. The reason was simple: Cole was a scourge and she had to deal with this scourge for a while. There were 16 valued females in Saint Nazaire and Gu Mengmeng did not want any of them to follow in Maya's footsteps. So, Gu Mingming's final decision was to go to the Snake King Valley. The Snake King Valley was Snake's base camp. The reputation that Snake had built up over thousands of years would not crumble overnight. Even though Ellie had conspired with Cole previously, it was with Snake's permission. Whales had been guarding the Snake King Valley with Wabiai's identity for the past 800 years. Now that he had awakened and was a demigod above the Beast King, the snake beasts naturally had the support of the masses. If she wanted to find an absolutely clean place in the beast world where Cole could not even stab a needle, the Snake King Valley was definitely the best choice. Aside from the topic, today's update has ended. I will continue tomorrow. These 2 days, I have been thinking of all kinds of perverted ways to kill Cole to appease everyone's anger. Chapter 1544. Whales had no objections to this. After all, the rule that outsiders were not allowed to enter the Snake King Valley was set by outsiders. When Snake was alive, he had never said that outsiders were not allowed to enter. It was just that those who entered might be treated as food. Returning to the Snake King Valley gave her a feeling that things were the same but people had changed. After Snake's death, Gu Mengmeng returned once, but only once. Elvis and Leah were waiting for her outside the valley that time and did not enter together. And this time, because of the troublemaker Cole, Elvis and Leah would definitely not let Gu Meng Meng and Cole be alone. Gu Meng Meng directly returned to the cave that Snake used to live in. Wabi had his own cave, and after awakening, Whale's temperament had taken over most of his personality. He preferred peace and quiet, so he did not stick around with Gu Meng Meng and the rest. He only told Gu Meng Meng to get the little snake to pass the message to him if she needed help. So Cole shamelessly stuck to Gu Meng Meng's cave. Both parties reached a strange tacit understanding. Cole clearly knew that Gu Meng Meng wanted the spirit of the rocky cliffs, but he still took the initiative to ask for a trick, to fall for it and to deceive her. Gu Meng Meng clearly knew that Cole knew that she wanted the spirit of the rocky cliffs, so she would definitely let him stay. But she still pretended to reject him and allowed him to stay in Snake's cave. It was a very strange feeling. It was hard to tell who was acting with whom. Snakes hibernated collectively during winter, so there was no need to prepare food. But Gu Meng Meng did not hibernate during winter. Moreover, she was the saintess of the Snake King Valley and had Snake's protection mark on the back of her neck. Her status was special and precious, so she naturally had to be taken good care of. Moreover, Gu Meng Meng had Snake's tear of the beast deity on her, so her body was immune to all poisons. So it was much easier for the snake beasts to prepare food for her. Prey with 2 holes in their main arteries were continuously transported into Snake's cave. And Elvis, who usually went out to hunt every year, did not go out this year because of Cole's presence. Instead, he handed the task of hunting to the wild wolves. Cole said that he wanted to stay and spend the winter together, but there was no reason for a male to let a female take care of him. So he ordered the wild foxes to hunt on a large scale and send food over. So there were 3 portions of food stacked separately in Snake's cave. One was prepared by the snake beast for Gu Meng Meng. Because it was poisonous, only Gu Meng Meng could eat it. The other 2 piles were for wolf beasts and fox beasts. Luckily Snake's cave was spacious enough, otherwise with all these things piled up, no one would be able to enter. Leo looked at the 3 small hills of corpses in the cave and shook his head silently. Speechless, he sighed and began to clean them up one by one. He peeled off the beast hides and tanned them into fur, then marinated the meat and stored them separately. Gu Meng Meng, on the other hand, flapped her wings and flew up to a tree branch. She sat on a high spot and swung her legs, humming Gua Jing singing in the tree. Elvis automatically went to help Leah handle the prey. Cole hesitated for a moment before joining in. These 3 males, who were like fire and water and had always fought each other to the death, were actually preparing food for the winter in harmony. This scene was really strange. But it was also thanks to them that they did not cause any trouble. When the first snow fell, Snake's cave was already stocked with enough food. Chapter 1545. Gu Meng Meng rubbed her hands and shrugged her shoulders, grinning. It's a pity there's no more wine, or else I would have gotten you both drunk today. Elvis and Leah looked at each other and smiled. Ever since they got drunk together that year, and Gu Meng Meng took the opportunity to satisfy her Fujoshi heart, the 2 of them had never drunk together again. Between the 2 of them, one of them had to remain sober, so that Gu Meng Meng's imagination would not run wild again. Gu Meng Meng eagerly filled 3 cups with water and passed one to Elvis and Leah. Then, she took one for herself and clinked it with the 2 of them. She smiled sweetly. Hubby, husband, happy wedding anniversary. There's no wine, so let's use water to replace wine. Cheers, shall we? Happy wedding anniversary. Happy wedding anniversary. Elvis and Leah said in unison, smiling gently and blissfully. There was no calendar in the beast world, so they treated the first day of winter as their wedding anniversary. The 3 of them were blissfully happy and warm, while Cole, who was sitting at the side, was isolated outside. Snake's cave did not have any cover. After all, before Gu Meng Meng came, Snake was the only one living here. Even though they were in the same space, he could not blend in with them. Cole clutched his heart with his hand and smiled bitterly. He knew that sticking close to her was asking for trouble, but he was already feeling so uncomfortable at the beginning. He really did not know how he was going to survive this long winter. Gu Mengmeng did not have time to care about Cole. She just ate with Elvis and Leah while recalling the interesting things that happened in the past few years. Sometimes she would grumble coquettishly, and sometimes she would laugh out loud. Cole could not take his eyes off her. He just waited with his eyes fixed on her, thinking that she might mention him in one of her sentences. Even if it was hatred. Unfortunately, there was not a single word. After a day of fooling around, Gu Mengmeng was so sleepy that she fell into a deep sleep in Elvis's arms. Carry her into sleep. Mengmeng doesn't like others to see her sleeping, Leah said to Elvis while clearing the cutlery. Elvis nodded and carried Gu Mengmeng into a cave that they had dug out temporarily before winter. It could be considered as a separate room for the three of them to rest in this winter. Cole was allowed to stay in the cave, but he was not allowed to go near this room. He was clear of his own identity and his own motive, so he would not touch Gu Mengmeng's bottom line. And so, he just stayed in the corner and stared longingly at the entrance of the cave, as if he could see the person sleeping soundly through the wall. After Leah finished packing, he did not enter the cave. Instead, he sat beside Cole. Without looking at Cole, he just sat side by side with him and said nonchalantly, "What you said to Mengmeng that day, was it a lie, wasn't it?" Cole did not look at Leah and only chuckled softly. Gu understands psychology. The chances of success in lying to her are very slim. Leah shook his head. Chapter 1546. Cole nodded with a chilly smile. So you intend to complain to Gu about this? Expose me for hiding my ambition and disguising myself as a pitiful person to gain sympathy? Leah shook his head. If I wanted to expose you, I would have done it long ago. Why wait till now? Oh. Then what is your motive for telling me all this? Cole asked softly. Leah said, I'm just reminding you, it's useless to act pitiful. 5 years ago, I made myself even more pathetic than you, but I still couldn't move her to forgive me in one winter. At the very least, she still liked me back then. But you? I'd like to hear more. Cole was a bad guy, but he was a smart one. Leah pointed out the loophole in his first step to express his sincerity. Gu Mengmeng wanted the spirit of the rocky cliffs and Leah would definitely help her. So this winter, he would let go of the past and make Cole fall madly in love with Gu Mengmeng. The first step was to not destroy Cole's facade in front of Gu Mengmeng. Only when Gu Mengmeng felt that Cole was pitiful would her heart soften a little towards him. And this little soften was enough to make Cole go crazy. Conspiring with the enemy to drive himself crazy. Cole felt that there was probably no other person in this world who would do this. Leah smiled lightly. Then, he patted Cole's shoulder. There will be a good opportunity within 3 days. As for how to grasp it, it's up to you. With that, Leah stood up and returned to his room. A good opportunity within 3 days. Cole's confusion only lasted until the next morning when Gu Mengmeng woke up. Moaning, she stretched her body and flipped over to see Leah smiling at her from the bedside with his chin propped on his hand. Good morning, hubby. Gu Mengmeng rubbed her eyes and greeted him softly. Leah pinched Gu Mengmeng's soft little face that had just woken up and smiled gently. Are you awake? Gu Mengmeng nodded and leaned into Lee's arms coquettishly. She found a comfortable spot on his chest and said lazily with the coquettishness of the morning, I'm awake, but I still want to stay a little longer. Leah hugged Gu Mengmeng back and kissed her forehead, saying, You might still have to stay for a long while. Gu Mengmeng did not understand. She looked up and pressed her lips against Lee's lowered head. She thought it was just an accidental kiss, but Leah deepened it. After a while, the entire room was filled with the fox's seductive fragrance. Leah, so early in the morning, males have a specific physiological reaction in the morning. You understand, right? As Leah spoke, he flipped over and pinned Gu Meng Meng under him. He kissed her from her forehead all the way down to her neck. Didn't you want a nest of little foxes? Now, as you wish. Ah, no, that's not good. Gu Mingming's emotions were in a mess from Li's kiss and she did not know what to do. Before the drowsiness had completely dissipated, her mind was occupied by ambiguity. Her whole body was in a state of chaos, but her body gave a more direct response than her mind. Winter is the most leisurely time of the year. Now that you're pregnant, Elvis and I can take care of you wholeheartedly. There's no better time than now. Li's large hand moved down Gu Mingming's arm and interlocked his fingers with hers, pressing her hands to the sides of her body. Then, he leaned close to her left ear and whispered softly, "Moreover, you're so beautiful. I can't hold it in anymore. Aside from the topic, hurry, there's no more time, hurry up and board the train. Look at the car plate, 4927797273. After boarding the train, look for the administrator to check the tickets. Babies with more than 800 fans can enter the VIP cabin to enjoy the special treatment of overflowing meat fragrance. Note, this train is not heading to the kindergarten. Please do not sneak onto the train if you want to go to the kindergarten. This train is not heading to the kindergarten. Please do not sneak onto the train if you want to go to the kindergarten." Chapter 1547. The males in the beast world had sharp hearing. This was originally an advantage, but now, it had become a torture. Whatever Leah and Gu Meng Meng did and said in the cave, the two males at the door could hear it clearly. The fox's seductive fragrance that permeated the air also stimulated the two males who had an especially sensitive sense of smell. Cole's eyes reddened and he wanted to rush into the cave. How could Elvis let him enter? So, the two beast kings started fighting in the empty space of Snake's cave. The sounds in the cave got louder and louder, and the fight outside the cave became fiercer and fiercer. When the last chant was heard from inside, Elvis's sharp claws dug into Cole's chest. Both of them were stunned, but Elvis did not take the chance to kill Cole. After all, Gu Meng Meng did not ask Cole to come along to kill him. Or rather, not to kill him at this moment. As expected, Gu Meng Meng fell into a deep sleep after the fight. When she opened her eyes again, the cave was filled with the aroma of meat. She could hear Elvis's steady and clear breathing and heartbeat, as well as the sound of Li's chopsticks rubbing against the sides of the pot as he stirred the food. These small details pieced together to form a blissful scene. Gu Meng Meng chuckled and hugged Elvis, calling out sweetly, "Hubby." Elvis kissed Gu Mingming's little face, then said in a low voice, "You slept for the whole day." "Yeah." Gu Meng Meng nodded and said, "I'm hungry." Leah was right, you will definitely wake up when you smell the aroma of food. As he spoke, Elvis carried Gu Meng Meng up and used the warm water he had prepared to help her wash up. As he washed her face, he remained silent for a moment before saying out of the blue, "I'm sorry." Gu Mingming's eyes were wide open. "Aw." Gu Meng Meng held on to Elvis's big hands like a kitten, her little face peeking out from the beast's skin and looking at Elvis curiously. Elvis's gaze was a little disappointed and he said, "In the future, I will work harder to serve you." Gu Meng Meng blinked her eyes and thought for a moment before her face turned red. The service Elvis was referring to was definitely not something like washing her face and brushing her teeth, but, cough, cough, cough. Gu Meng Meng choked on her own saliva. How should she put it? She was a little timid. After all, she had just been tormented by Leah yesterday. If Elvis were to do it again, she felt that she might die on the bed because she was a beautiful woman. Elvis patted Gu Mingming's back lightly and said, "This time, you slept for a whole day, but the previous time, you only slept for one night." From this, it can be seen that you were not satisfied the previous time. It's my fault, I won't do it again. Gu Meng Meng face-bombed. So Elvis judged her satisfaction level based on how long she slept after that. Chapter 1548. Elvis looked at Gu Mingming's timid look and felt warm and itchy in his heart. Undeniably, her almost begging attitude had pleased him. After all, males had the strongest desire to conquer in that matter and would not be willing to be outdone by anyone. And it was a delightful thing to receive the approval of one's own female. Ah, so the one who should be working harder is me. Leo leaned against the entrance of the cave and looked at Gu Mengmeng meaningfully with a faint smile. Gu Mengmeng choked and shook her head violently. She instinctively held onto her waist and said, "There's really no need. Both of you better slack off a little, or else I'm really afraid that one day I will be torn apart on the bed by both of you and won't be able to wake up." Leah and Elvis looked at each other and smiled. They did not say anything else and just called Gu Mengmeng out to eat. After Elvis helped Gu Mengmeng wash up, he used a piece of beast skin to wrap her up before carrying her out of the cave. Gu Mengmeng felt very awkward the moment she came out. She was so confused by Lee's teasing yesterday that she had forgotten that there was an outsider staying in her house, so Cole had been listening to live AVI for an entire day at the cave entrance yesterday. As a performer, Gu Mengmeng really wanted to bang her head against Lee's chest and die. "Ah, Gu." Cole's voice sounded a little weak and tired. The corners of his lips were heavy, but he forced a smile and said, "You don't dare to look at me. Is it because your heart aches?" Gu Mengmeng laughed dryly and said, "No, it's because it's awkward." "Why is it awkward?" "Because I heard you mating with Leah." Cole's every word was light as a feather, as if that was the only way he would not shatter his overburdened heart. He smiled bitterly and said, Actually you don't have to be like this. Anyway, it's not the first time I heard it, what?" Gu Mengmeng looked up at Cole. He was clearly someone she hated to the extreme, but when she met his eyes, Gu Mingming's heart skipped a beat. She did not know if it was because she had heard his story and knew that he had no choice but to do what he did to Leah back then, so the basis of her hatred had loosened. She did not even find Cole as hateful as before. Cole could clearly see the gentleness in Gu Mingming's gaze when she lifted her head. Hence, he tried his best to smile, as if he wanted to hide all his dark side behind this smile, and present the little bit of beauty and sunshine he had left to her. Even though his throat was boiling with blood, Cole still tried his best to maintain his elegance. He said calmly, "Previously in Solder, when you and Elvis were mating, I was near the stone castle, and heard everything. That was the first time, so I lost control and seriously injured your little tiger." Little tiger. If Gu Mengmeng did not know how Oriton, that glutton, usually had a poker face and was cold to everyone except when he was eating, she might have been fooled by the 3 words little tiger and thought that he was some cute little pet that Gu Mengmeng was raising. Holding her forehead, Gu Mengmeng suddenly realized that her focus was not quite right. Twitching her lips, Gu Mengmeng laughed coldly and said, "Are you addicted to eavesdropping?" Chapter 1549. Gu Mengmeng felt even more awkward. She cleared her throat and said, "Then, why don't you take advantage of the fact that winter has just arrived and go live in another cave? Or, can't your snow fox tribe travel during winter? You can go back to Solder or anywhere else." Cole snorted. His eyes were filled with sorrow. He did not answer but asked instead, "Ah Gu, looks like you really hate me. You don't even share your soft-heartedness and kindness with me. Hearing the female I love the most mating with another male has already broken my heart and made me go crazy. I thought this was the most painful situation I had ever been in. But I didn't expect you to chase me away when I am in such pain. Ah Gu, it's a world of ice and snow outside. Even if I can find a cave to rest in, how am I going to get food? I can't survive the winter. Even if you don't care about my life, you have to think about Qi Xian. If I die, what will happen to him? Moreover, don't you want the spirit of the rocky cliffs? Gu Mengmeng did not think too much. She just felt that letting Cole stay in her cave to survive the winter was a very thoughtless thing to do. She could not possibly not mate with Elvis and Leah this winter. Especially since she still wanted to bear Lee's child. How could she not do that? But every time they did it, it was like a live broadcast with an outsider eavesdropping. It was so awkward, so Gu Mengmeng asked Cole to leave. But she did not have the intention to kill him. In the end, this difficult situation became like this. Gu Mengmeng sighed and said, I have always been such a vicious woman. If I were you, I would run away as soon as possible and hide far away. Never appear in front of a vicious woman like me. I will not chase after you to the ends of the world for Qishuan's life. As for the spirit of the rocky cliffs, it doesn't matter if it doesn't appear. Anyway, that broken door cannot be opened and everyone can relax. Cole looked at Gu Mingming's angry words in silence. He chuckled and said, I can understand it as you are concerned and can't bear for me to die. In order to save my life, you are willing to let down Whale's request and make him wait for 1,000 years in vain. You don't care if that bird man on the Motu Mountains becomes a living dead forever. Thinking of little shit and Gregory, Gu Mengmeng felt her chest tighten. She glared at Cole unhappily and said, You are a scourge. It's all your fault for causing this situation today. Cole chuckled with a blissful expression. Yes, Gu is right. It's all my fault. I planned all of this just to get a chance for you to allow me to fall in love with you. Only with permission would you pity my misery. I know you won't love me, but I want you to remember me, always remember me. Gu Mengmeng did not say a word. She just turned around and entered the house in frustration. Leah brought the pot back to the room and coaxed Gu Mengmeng to eat. Gu Mengmeng was frustrated by Cole and did not feel like eating. But Leah gently caressed her tummy and said, Maybe there's already a little fox here. Even if you don't think for yourself, you should think for the child. Gu Mengmeng lowered her head and hesitated for a moment before saying, It can't be that fast, right? You hit it on the first try. Chapter 1550. When Leah said that, Gu Mengmeng also felt that it was the case. Instinctively, she placed her hand on her abdomen, feeling a little hesitant and curious. If she was pregnant, she should have felt it, right? Gu Mengmeng thought about it. When she was pregnant with Heda and his brothers, she did not have any reaction at first. It was only after Leah sensed that there was something wrong with the smell on her body that he started to have a reaction. What about this time? Would it be the same? Gu Mengmeng felt that Lee's words made sense. If there was really a baby in her stomach, she must take good care of herself. Because of this possibility, Gu Mingming's mood instantly improved. Her emotions that were disturbed by Cole just now had also flown out of the 9 heavens. She just rubbed her tummy from time to time, then accepted the food that Leah fed her by mouthful like an old lady, delightedly thinking about how many little foxes would be born in this litter. Sons or daughters? What should she call them? After the meal, Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng to accompany her to digest the food, while Leah went to wash the dishes. Gu Mengmeng then realized that Elvis had injuries on his body. Frowning, she asked, What happened? Elvis looked down at his almost healed body, leaving only a faint pink mark. He said, It's all right, I'm almost healed. And his injuries are more serious than mine. Him. Gu Mengmeng only took 2 seconds to understand who him was. Elvis was not injured before entering the cave, and he did not fight with anyone when she was awake. So it could only be the day she and Leah mated. She was in a daze then, but now that she recalled it, she did hear the sounds of fighting. Gu Mengmeng rolled up her sleeves and jumped up from the bed, stomping out in a huff. Cole's gaze was fixed on the entrance of Gu Mingming's cave, so he naturally saw her walk out and heard their conversation inside. He knew that Gu Mengmeng was here to settle the score with him, so he did not avoid or hide. He just sat there quietly and looked at Gu Mengmeng, as if he was anticipating her to take revenge on him. Gu Mengmeng walked up to Cole angrily and strangled his neck. She sneered, "Staying in my cave and even hitting my man, are you tired of living?" With that, Gu Mengmeng threw a punch at Cole. Cole flew out and landed heavily on the wall of the cave, before landing on the ground, raising a cloud of dust. Pfft! Spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood, Cole clutched his chest as he sprawled on the ground. He turned to look at Gu Mengmeng and smiled. The fresh red blood formed a stark contrast with his pale face. He was clearly in a miserable state, but he still had to put on a smiling face. He did not say anything and just looked at Gu Mengmeng. The rage in Gu Mingming's heart was extinguished by Cole's mouthful of blood. She clenched her fists tightly and stood at the same spot, not chasing after him to hit him again. He only asked fiercely, "Why didn't you fight back? Aren't you good at fighting? Don't tell me you don't hit women. I saw that you didn't hold back when you hit Maya and Miranda." Cole shook his head. "It's not that I don't hit women. I just don't hit you." Chapter 1551. I know you are not weak, but I just can't bear to lay a hand on you. Cole gave a helpless and bitter smile. He shook his head in self-mockery and said, "Think about it yourself. In those moments when you hated me, did I ever hurt you at all?" Indeed, no matter how many things Cole had done to make Gu Mengmeng gnash her teeth in hatred, he had never laid a finger on her. Gu Mengmeng clenched her fists and growled coldly. "You hurt the people I care about, so why don't you just hit me?" Cole coughed again. Every time he coughed, fresh blood would spurt out. After finally stopping the bleeding, Cole used the back of his hand to wipe his mouth. Then, he looked up at Gu Mengmeng with a smile. "We are really similar, protecting the people we care about and ignoring the people we don't care about. The only difference is that you care about Elvis, Leah, Qixuan and Sandy. You care about everyone except me. And I, from start to finish, only care about you. But Gu, in my eyes and in your eyes, what is the difference between the people you care about?" Gu Mengmeng clenched her fists. She had nothing to say. Cole had first been beaten up by whales because of Oriton. Even if he had the power of a beast king, it was not something that could be healed in a short period of time after every bone in his body was crushed by a demigod. But he had ignored his recovery and traveled such a long distance to the Snake King Valley, just to fall in love with her and give her the spirit of the rocky cliffs. Although they were both beast kings, foxes were naturally weaker than wolves. In addition, Cole had not recovered from his serious injuries, so Elvis definitely had the upper hand in their battle yesterday. Even if Gu Mengmeng had the slightest bit of rationality, she could easily see that the huge hole in his chest had not completely healed. Compared to the faint pink marks on Elvis's body, Cole's injuries were obviously more serious. But she only cared about Elvis, so she attacked Cole without a care, hitting him until he vomited blood and fell to the ground. Cole was right. In this aspect, she was really the same as him. She only cared about the people she cared about and never cared about the lives of others. Gu Mengmeng pursed her lips, her eyes bloodshot. She did not know if it was because Cole had exposed the truth or because of the blood he had vomited. After enduring for a long time, she only said fiercely, "But at least I did not kill you." "You will kill him, won't you?" Cole replied calmly, smiling so gently, as though he was saying, "Winter will pass, the flowers you love will bloom, the fruits you love will bear." Gu Mingming's brows were tightly furrowed and her fists were clenched by her sides. She clenched her teeth and held on for a long while before slowly loosening her fists. She said, "Yes, I will kill you eventually. Once I undo Qixuan's bewitching spell, I will definitely kill you. But Cole, you are different from Oakley, you are not innocent. Cole chuckled. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten about it. Sorry, there are too many things that made you hate me, so I didn't think about it. But Goo, you care about so many people, why did I only kill the insignificant Oakley? If he wants to torture you, he, Qi or Sandy are all good choices, isn't it? Chapter 1552. If he had obediently helped you guard Sauter, I would not have killed him no matter how he went against me. Look at Qi, he is the best example. No matter how impudent that little wolf cub was in front of me, I still spared his life, didn't I? Only you foolishly thought that I kept him alive to threaten you. Goo, don't you know? You are full of weaknesses, it is too easy for me to threaten you. I don't have to restrict myself to Qi, even if he dies, there is still Hada, Jiaoyu and Kanwu. You will not give up on any of them, right? Cole shakily propped himself up and leaned against the wall to sit. He looked up at Gu Mengmeng with a smile on his face. He took a deep breath and pursed his lips, forcing himself to swallow back the blood that was surging up his throat. He frowned slightly and his forehead was covered in sweat, but the corners of his lips were still curled upwards. He had to smile, he had to smile. He was already so unbearable in her eyes, the only thing he had left was this smile. You treat Oakley as a friend, but what about him? He didn't hesitate to push you into the eye of the storm for his own purpose. I can't let someone who would stab you in the back stay by your side. So, even if you hate me because of this, I can't let him stay. Cole propped himself against the wall and slowly stood up from the ground. The dignified Beast King, Lord Cole, was now in a pathetic and weak state. He could only stand up from the ground, if not for the support of the wall, he wouldn't be able to do it. He coughed twice and blood flowed uncontrollably from the corner of his tightly shut mouth. He tilted his head slightly and secretly wiped away the blood. Then, he turned to look at Gu Mengmeng and continued, Gu, I told you before, you and I are the same kind of person. I will never allow anyone who threatens the people we care about to exist. That year when you killed Nina, wasn't it because of this? Nina, this was a name that had not appeared for a long time. Back then, no matter how she provoked and how she jumped out, Gu Mengmeng tolerated it all. Until later, when she injured Sandy. Although Gu Mengmeng did not personally kill her, she had instructed Leah to do it. Nina and the 46 males in her family had all died because of a single sentence from her. She would not allow Nina, who would plot against Sandy, to exist. Cole would also not allow Oakley, who would betray her, to exist. Gu Mengmeng staggered a step back and her gaze dimmed. So she and Cole were the same kind of people? Cole stood firmly and looked at Gu Mengmeng with a determined gaze. Gu, I don't deny that I killed Oakley. If you want to avenge him, my life is right here for you to take. But let me tell you, if I could do it all over again, would still kill him without hesitation, without mercy, and without regret. Gu Mengmeng clenched her fists and flung them away, leaving behind only one sentence, there's no next time. Cole did not promise that he would not lay his hands on the people Gu Mengmeng cared about in the future, because he had to stick to his bottom line of not lying to her. If the people around her betrayed her again in the future, no matter if it was Elvis, Leah or Sandy or the 4 little ones, if anyone dared to hurt her, he would use any means necessary to get rid of them. With one hand on the wall and the other on his chest, Cole looked at Gu Mengmeng's resolute back view. Gu, we did not do anything wrong. We were just protecting the people we care about. If you don't look out for yourself, heaven and earth will destroy you. In this cruel world, if you're not the hunter, you're the prey. It's just survival of the fittest. Aside from the topic, today's update has ended. Besides, where are the people who wanted me to torture Cole to death? Why are there so many people asking me to show mercy now? Chapter 1553. About 3 weeks passed in the blink of an eye. Gu Meng Meng was unwilling to face Cole, so she hid in the cave and rarely went out. Leah was the one who prepared the food and brought it in, so she was unwilling to step out of the door. 3 weeks later, Leah confirmed that Gu Meng Meng was pregnant. Usually, foxes would be pregnant for about 50 days, and 3 weeks meant half of the gestation period was over. But Gu Meng Meng's tummy was ridiculously flat. Leah frowned and stared at Gu Meng Meng for a long time, before looking up blankly and saying slowly, "Maybe, it's a daughter." Gu Meng Meng was also stunned for a moment. The chances of getting pregnant with a female in the beast world was very low, so Gu Meng Meng and Leah had always thought that this child would be a son, and had thought of 4 to 5 names. Suddenly realizing that it was a daughter, the whole family was dumbfounded. Really? Gu Meng Meng held Lee's hand carefully to confirm. Leah transformed into his beast form again and laid between Gu Meng Meng's legs to sniff carefully, before transforming into a human and nodding, "I'm sure that I'm pregnant." Counting the days, if it's a son, the tummy would have been big long ago. Ah! Gu Meng Meng screamed in joy, hugging Leah excitedly. "Leah, we have a daughter, we have a daughter." Leah was also dizzy from joy, his entire body was numb, and the phrase, "we have a daughter," kept repeating endlessly in his mind. After a long time, he finally laughed out, hugging Gu Meng Meng tightly in his arms, crying tears of joy, "I finally have a family related by blood, finally." Gu Meng Meng, thank you. Gu Meng Meng hugged Lee's face and kissed him, saying, "Silly, other than this child, you still have me and Elvis, we are all your family." "Yeah." Leah nodded heavily, hugging Gu Meng Meng back tightly in his arms. Gu Meng Meng's pregnancy had washed away all other matters, including the conflict with Cole previously. Now that she was pregnant, Gu Meng Meng could not stay in the cave all day, she needed to move around as much as possible. It was impossible to leave the cave, but luckily, because Snake's original body was too big, this cave had an area of at least 300 square meters. It was barely enough for digesting food and taking a stroll. Gu Meng Meng felt a little uneasy after not leaving the room for 3 weeks. For some unknown reason, Gu Meng Meng felt that she could not face Cole. In the past, she hated him because he had schemed against Leah. But later on, she realized, he was just protecting himself. Later on, she hated him because he kidnapped Qi Xian and killed Oakley. But later on, she found out that he kidnapped Qi Xian so that he would have a reason to see her more often. Even though he killed Oakley, it was also to protect her. Didn't she kill Nina to protect Sandy? She had done the same thing, so what right did she have to criticize Cole? The last time Cole fought with Elvis, it seemed like Cole's injuries were also more serious. In the end, he went out and punched Elvis until he vomited blood. Now that she thought about it, why did it seem like she was in the wrong? She hesitated and could not take a step forward. She stared at that one step but could not take it. A shadow fell from the top of her head. Gu Meng Meng instinctively looked up and met Cole's eyes. Chapter 1554. There's no need, Leah will help me. Gu Meng Meng lowered her head, avoiding Cole's gaze. Cole chuckled and resisted the urge to lift her chin to look at him. "You are pregnant and a female. It's better to have a witch doctor by your side. It's so cold outside. Won't your heart ache if he goes? Let me go. If you don't see me, will you feel better?" Gu Meng Meng pursed her lips and kept quiet. Would she feel better if she didn't see Cole? Probably. After all, she felt extremely pressured just by seeing him for no reason. Moreover, if she really asked Leah to pluck some fruits for her in the snow, her heart would definitely ache. She would rather not eat it than let Leah take such a risk. Cole raised his hand, wanting to touch Gu Meng Meng's head. Seeing her instinctively step back and shrink her neck to avoid him, his hand froze in midair. After hesitating for a moment, he slowly lowered it. "I'm leaving. Take care." With that, Cole took 2 steps back and turned to walk towards the entrance of the cave. A gust of cold wind blew over. Gu Mengmeng shivered and nestled into Elvis's arms. Leah started a fire and boiled some water for Gu Mengmeng to maintain the moisture in the cave and prevent her from having a nosebleed again. Without Cole in the cave, Gu Mengmeng felt much more comfortable and at ease. It was as if she had returned to the days in St. Nazaire. Every day, Elvis and Leah would take care of her as if she was a queen. Even though she was not even a month pregnant, the 2 of them would take turns to lie on her tummy and listen to her every day. Sometimes, her small intestines would move and make a gurgling sound. These 2 fools would insist that it was the baby moving and were as excited as 2 silly dogs. Such days were leisurely. In the blink of an eye, another half a month had passed. Gu Mingming's tummy grew bigger day by day. Now, it was as big as her chest. She stood up like a beta. Gu Mengmeng rubbed her tummy and looked at Leah from time to time. She asked, "It's only been slightly more than a month. My tummy is growing a little too fast." Leah pinched Gu Mingming's little tummy and smiled. "You've been eating more and moving less recently. It's probably not all because of your daughter. Maybe it's because you're growing fat on your waist." "Leah." Gu Mengmeng gritted her teeth and glared at Leah fiercely. The hairs on Lee's back stood up as he instantly recalled the first year Gu Mengmeng came. Elvis had said that Gu Mengmeng seemed to have put on some weight and ended up being chased by Gu Mengmeng with a bone stick as big as a sweet potato. Leah was not afraid of being smashed, mainly because Gu Mingming's current body was not suitable for chasing and battling. Hence, he immediately admitted defeat and took the initiative to transform into a beast and send it to Gu Mingming's hand. He even pretended to smile subconsciously and said, "All right Mengmeng, don't be angry." In the beast world, saying a female is a little fat is a compliment, really. I know my mistake, I really know my mistake, my Mengmeng is not fat at all, not fat not fat. His face was as red as an apple in anger as Gu Mengmeng was holding on to his ear. Leah kept begging for mercy but did not dare to struggle, fearing that he would hurt Gu Mengmeng. Just as they were fooling around, a wave of coldness swept over. Gu Mengmeng instinctively looked towards the entrance of the cave and saw Cole, who had just returned covered in frost. Chapter 1555. Leah had just taken the beast skin bag from Cole's hands when Cole fell stiffly to one side, landing on the ground with a loud thud. He was obviously frozen stiff. Gu Mingming's heart was tugged at by Cole's fall. She did not know if it was because she knew about his past, but Gu Mingming's hostility towards Cole had lessened by a lot. Especially when he went out this time to not be an eyesore to make her feel better, and even braved the wind and snow to pluck fruits for her. No matter how cold-hearted she was, Gu Mengmeng still felt a little guilty. Gu Mengmeng wanted to help Cole up, but was stopped by Elvis and Leah. "The cold air on his body is too strong, it will be troublesome to pass it to you." Leah handed the swelling fruits to Elvis, then walked up to carry Cole and placed him at a spot slightly further away from the fire. People with frostbite should not immediately go to the fire, it would make their injuries worse. Elvis took out a beast skin cushion and placed it by the fire, letting Gu Mengmeng sit there comfortably. Leah took care of Cole, while Elvis went to wash the swelling fruits for Gu Mengmeng to eat. Gu Mengmeng held a small bowl, staring at the bowl full of swelling fruits in a daze, but did not eat a single one. Elvis used his chest to support Gu Mingming's waist, wrapping an arm around her shoulder and gently squeezing her little hand, asking, "Why aren't you eating? Don't you love eating this fruit the most? I remember when you were pregnant with Heda and the rest, you could eat 3 big bowls of this at once." Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "There are many swelling fruits on the Moda Mountains, Gregory would pluck them for me to eat every day. But he said I could only eat 10 at most at once, or else it would be too cold and my stomach would feel uncomfortable. Elvis was taken aback for a moment, then took the bowl from Gu Mingming's hands. He forced a smile and said calmly, "It is not easy to be principled towards your own female. Gregory is a good man. When he comes back, you can take him in. Leah and I have no objections." Leah tilted his head and looked at Elvis, saying, "Who says I have no objections? I have objections. If you want to be promoted, you have to defeat me first." Gu Mengmeng looked at Leah, who was trying to protect his food, and could not help but laugh. Gregory, a third-level beast, wanted to fight Leah, a fifth-level. Elvis looked at Leah plainly and said, "Xiaomeng feels guilty towards him regarding the love of the sky. Moreover, he has sacrificed so much for Xiaomeng, we have no right to reject him." Leah snorted nonchalantly and said, "It was all thanks to him that Meng Meng could obtain the love of the sky, but who begged him to do so? Since it was voluntary, there was no need to say that anyone owed him anything. Furthermore, there were many ways to thank him, but he could not use Meng Meng as a reward. If this precedent is set, in the future, everyone will come to sacrifice their lives for Meng Meng. Are we going to accept all of them?" When Leah said this, he glanced at Cole. His meaning was obvious. With Cole's methods, if Gu Mengmeng were to set a precedent for Gregory, he would be able to do even more cruel things to force Gu Mengmeng to accept him. Elvis frowned and remained silent for a moment. They are different. Back then, Gregory was tricked by you. Chapter 1556. Elvis let out a sigh. As the first partner, he had to be fair and magnanimous. But as a male, how could he be willing to have another person fighting for her attention at home? Especially that Gregory, he was exceptionally handsome and different from most of the beasts in the beast world. He had the unique aura of a bird, and although he did not dare to say that he could outshine Leah, he was at least on par with him. He was neither servile nor overbearing in front of Gu Mengmeng and would not give in uncontrollably just because of her pleas. He had a measuring stick in his heart and would only do things that were truly good for her. Most importantly, he was only 10 years old and was at the prime of his youth, while Elvis and Leah were no longer as young and energetic as before. Coupled with the friendship of the love of the sky, if he really became Gu Mingming's partner, Elvis gave a bitter smile. Would Xiaomeng still value him? Unfortunately, he was not Leah and could not place his emotions before Gu Mingming's interests. As long as Xiaomeng liked him, not only could he not reject him, he had to think of ways to help her settle Leah so that she could fulfill her wish. It was just that Wales had yet to be truly revived and there was still some time before Gregory returned. Saying all these in advance was just to let Leah and himself be mentally prepared and not to argue too early. And Elvis was very clear that although Leah was speaking so decisively now, if Gu Mengmeng really liked Gregory, Leah would bear with it no matter how unwilling he was and would not really stop her. After all, compared to her smiling face, there was nothing else in this world that was more important. Including themselves. Forget it, let's wait until Gregory successfully returns. Elvis said calmly. Leah harumphed and did not reply. He just fiddled with some medicine and poured it down Cole's throat with hot water. Then, he dusted his hands and said, "All right, this fellow is just suffering from frostbite. He won't die, don't worry." Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, "Make more food later. When he wakes up, let's eat together." Leah glanced at Cole and his lips curled up slightly as he smiled and nodded. Ever since Gu Mengmeng got pregnant, she had become especially drowsy all day long. Now, she felt sleepy again after just a few steps. She leaned into Elvis's arms and yawned, saying that she wanted to sleep for a while. Elvis remembered that Gu Mengmeng was also like this when she was pregnant with Heda and the rest. She got tired easily, so he carried Gu Mengmeng back to the room and let her lie down comfortably to have a good sleep, while he stayed by her side as a warm blanket to keep her warm. Leah stayed outside, adjusting the fire from time to time, controlling the heat in preparation for cooking. He waited until Gu Mengmeng's even breathing could be heard from the house. After confirming that Gu Mengmeng had fallen asleep, he gave Cole a kick. "All right, stop pretending. Mengmeng is asleep." Cole slowly opened his eyes and smiled. He propped himself up and said, "I'm not pretending. I just woke up." Leah did not question him and only smiled faintly. "Can you be more creative? You're completely plagiarizing the way I begged for mercy in the past. Aren't you afraid that Mengmeng will notice?" Cole's body was weak. No matter how much of a beast king he was, not eating or drinking in the snow for half a month was enough to kill him. His voice was hoarse and a little weak. He said, "Since you know there's a shortcut, why take a detour? Follow the track so that you won't fall into the swamp, right?" Chapter 1557. Cole did not think that Leah was being sarcastic and just smiled. "Just like what you said, Gu is not an inexperienced little female. It's impossible to lie to her, especially when she has such a deep enmity towards me. How can I not use everything I have in order to sway her?" Leah stopped stirring and turned to look at Cole. He asked in a daze, "Back then, you used all your schemes to survive. Now, you're putting in so much effort to plot something that will cost you your life. I really don't understand you. Are you seeking life or death?" Cole raised his head and leaned against the wall. His gaze was distant as if he was looking at his past self through the fire. He said calmly, "I was unwilling to accept it back then. I couldn't understand the 3 words based on what, and was determined to trample everyone under my feet. All these years, I've done it. I'm the leader of Sauter, the supreme light in the beast world, the king behind the stray beasts, the most obscure place in the beast world. I've done my best to be kind in front of others and evil behind others. Maybe you don't believe me, but I've long been sick of this kind of life. Everything is in my control and no one can escape from my control. If I want someone to live, they will die. If I want someone to live a life worse than death, it's not impossible." Cole looked at Leah and smiled calmly. "You're hailed as the wisest person in the beast world. But all these years, has there ever been a day where you could get rid of me? I'm hated by people like Peter and Oakley. But I don't care about their hatred. I even intentionally allowed them to grow, allowing them to sharpen their claws and teeth and wait for an opportunity to attack me. Unfortunately, they're too stupid and can't even withstand a single blow. I'm also bored out of my mind. There are also people who love me dearly, like Maya and Jillian. They try their best to please me, and to please me. But I don't have the slightest interest in them. Other than using them, they have no value in my eyes." Cole's gaze was as still as stagnant water, so calm that it sent chills down one's spine. "And you, my brother who hates and loves me. You hate me for scheming against you, hate me for torturing you, but you can't let go of the last bit of kinship between us. After all, I am your only remaining brother in this world. So when you and Elvis fought back in Sauter that year, you could not bring yourself to kill me even though you had already subdued me. You let me go because Gu wanted to protect Qixuan. I don't believe that you don't know what it means to let a tiger return to the mountain, and there will be no end of trouble in the future. After all, my life wasn't tied to Qixuan's back then. Killing me before looking for Qixuan was the most rational decision. But all these could not compare to Gu's gentle gaze that year. Cole's gaze softened and ripples formed in his eyes that were like stagnant water. The first time I saw her, it was when she was roasting meat with Elvis outside the small stone room in Sauter. There was a flame demon in Sauter, and I couldn't possibly wait until it was too late to find out. Actually, I reached the scene earlier than those females who were participating in the beauty pageant. It was just that I was stunned by Gu's bright smile and forgot to move. So I didn't stand out. Chapter 1558. At that time, I didn't know what liking was. I only knew that this female was very interesting and I wanted her. As Cole said, he threw another branch into the fire and said, that night, after I returned to my room, my mind kept replaying the scene of her and Elvis joking around. I even imagined that the one hugging her was not Elvis, but me. So the next morning, I packed up and went to the little stone house to look for her. Yeah, you even stopped me. A mere third-level orc actually dared to be so impudent in front of a fifth-level me. You really overestimated yourself. Leo laughed dryly. So you brought me away and beat me until I revealed my original form before sending me back. Cole raised his brows. He didn't deny it. Females should flock to the strong. As a fifth level, I had a noble status and should be the one she liked. Unfortunately, she didn't care about me at all. So, towards her, other than curiosity, I also had a desire to conquer. Cole continued. After you left Solder, I kept following you. But you were too weak then and couldn't even notice me. Along the way, I saw how gentle she was to you and Elvis. There were countless times when I wanted to appear and snatch her away. Just like how I did with Jillian, I could just lock her up and tame her to be my pet. But once she smiled, I couldn't move. If I could be loved by her, who would want to be hated? At that time, I was angry, resentful, and full of hatred. I blamed her for appearing too late. I had mated with another female and lost the right to pursue her openly. But after so many twists and turns, I couldn't bear to taint her with my hatred. So I could only transfer it to you. Cole looked straight at Leah. His gaze was calm and without a hint of guilt. If you hadn't made that request to me back then, I wouldn't have lost the chance to pursue Augu. Why did you let me settle Jillian for you, while you could pursue Augu? Did you think being rejected by Augu back then was very miserable? But did you know that I was even envious of you being rejected? Because I didn't even have the right to be rejected. Leo was not angry. Instead, he smiled calmly and said, bloodlines are really magical things. While I was envious of Elvis being reprimanded by Meng Meng, twisted by his ears and smashed with potatoes, you were actually envious of my envy. Cole replied with a smile, acknowledging Lee's words. After a moment of silence, he continued, after that, I plotted for Augu to come to Solder to seek help from me, and I meticulously acted as her hero. It wasn't that I couldn't see her change from trusting me at the very beginning to deliberately playing around with me. It wasn't that I couldn't see this change, but I didn't want to expose it. If she wanted, I would rather be blindly deceived by her for the rest of my life. What a pity, even if she was being hypocritical, she still held me back, making me reluctantly spend most of my attention on her, giving you and Elvis the chance to take a breather, allowing you to take the chance to rise up and bite me in the back. Chapter 1559. Leah placed the food into the pot in an orderly manner. As he stirred, he said, after so many things, I never thought that there would be a day where the two of us could calmly reminisce about the past. In this world, nothing is certain. Cole smiled but did not reply. It was not that he did not understand Lee's meaning. Leo was saying that as long as he was alive, there was still hope. His younger brother was advising him not to seek death. But, I know that if I want to hide, Augu will not kill me because of her relationship with Qi Xian. I should be able to escape. But I forced her to do so many things that she did not want to do. In the end, I have to make her do something that she wants to do to appease her anger. Cole's gaze involuntarily turned towards the room. Separated by the wall, he could not see anything, but just the sound of that little person's even breathing was already the greatest consolation in his gloomy life. If I can't get Augu, there's nothing else in this world that I want to be reluctant to part with. Rather than living like a withered corpse, why not use this life to fulfill Agu's wish? Since she wants to kill me so badly, then let her. I will help her plan the cruelest scenario and sacrifice myself to her, in exchange for her to pretend to be courteous to me one more time. That is enough, enough. Leah glanced sideways at Cole. So, what you said about conquering the earth is all nonsense, right? Cole chuckled and nodded. If I don't say that, how will that fellow Qixuan agree? Leah snorted. You are just taking advantage of Qixuan's young age. You actually use such a flawed excuse to fool him. If I don't take your spirit of the rocky cliffs, I will not be able to open the doors of time and space. If I take your spirit of the rocky cliffs, you will definitely die. How can a damned fox conquer the earth? Cole did not deny it. He just smiled faintly. You have already seen through this now. I wonder how long will it take for Agu to understand. At that time, will she feel a little more guilty towards me and remember me for a little longer? Leah paused and turned to look at Cole. He frowned. You purposely use such illogical words to mislead Qixuan, just so that one day Meng Meng will come around and feel more guilty towards you. Cole did not answer but asked instead, why not? Madman. Leah declined to comment and just turned his head to continue stirring the meat in the pot. Meng Meng said you must be tired from plucking the Xueling fruits, so she asked me to make more dishes to entertain you. Cole's gaze landed on Lee's pot. The boiling steam in the pot obscured his silhouette. He smiled faintly. He did not need to taste it to know how warm this pot of meat was. Let's eat together when she wakes up. Cole lowered his head and looked at his chest. He muttered, after all, there aren't many chances for me to have a meal with her. The two of them didn't speak anymore. They just sat there quietly, their gazes drifting to the door from time to time. Gu Mengmeng slept for quite a long time. When she woke up, Lee's meat had already been heated up several times. When Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng out of the house, Leah smiled and walked forward. He pinched Gu Mengmeng's little face. If you still don't wake up, this pot of meat will turn into minced meat. Chapter 1560. Leah had always been extremely indulgent towards Gu Mengmeng, and now that she was pregnant, he would naturally pamper her even more. How could he let her starve? So he patted her back lightly and said, just wait, it will be done soon. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng to sit beside the fire. Gu Mengmeng leaned lazily in Elvis's arms as she waited for her meal. Seeing that Cole was already awake, she smiled faintly and said, "You're awake." "Yeah." Cole returned a faint smile and responded with a single word, but his eyes dimmed a little. Leah was familiar with Gu Mengmeng's tastes and had always cooked according to her preferences, so Gu Mengmeng was naturally satisfied with her meal. After eating, Elvis and Leah supported her to walk around the cave to aid digestion. After 2 to 3 rounds, Gu Mengmeng said she was tired and wanted to sleep again. It was Leah and Elvis's first time taking care of a female fetus, and they did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. After all, females were delicate and hard to conceive, so it was normal for Gu Mengmeng to feel tired. Moreover, sleeping after eating and eating after waking up was exactly the lifestyle that Elvis and Leah had been dreaming of for Gu Mengmeng. Naturally, they did not object. But Cole's expression darkened even more. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng into the room to let her sleep. Not long after, Gu Mengmeng's even breathing could be heard. Cole placed the bowl in his hands at the side and said, "Both of you, come out for a while." Leah and Elvis were both taken aback. Although their relationship with Cole had improved, it was still an extremely awkward existence. If it was not necessary, they would try not to communicate with each other. Especially between Elvis and Cole, there was no friendship at all. They just hated each other. This was the first time Cole had used such an impolite and almost commanding tone to call someone. "It's about Agu," Cole added. Elvis and Leah looked at each other, but still stood up and walked out. Cole used his eyes to signal them to go somewhere further away and not disturb Gu Meng Meng by standing at the door. Elvis and Leah did not have any objections and followed Cole to the other side of the cave. "What's the matter?" Elvis asked with a darkened face. Cole turned back to look at the entrance of Gu Meng Meng's room and said softly, "How long has she been in this state?" Elvis and Leah looked at Cole in confusion. What did this state mean? Cole frowned, looking slightly impatient, but he still suppressed his temper and explained, Gu's stomach, if it's a male cub, isn't it a little too small? But if it's a female, don't you think it's a little too big? It's only been a month, and she's already like this. How big will her belly be when she gives birth?" Leo was shocked by Cole's words and he frowned. Pregnancy does cause fatigue, but Gu's body has always been healthy, and she also has the tear of the beast deity and the love of the sky, 2 of the 7 treasures, supporting her. How could she be so drowsy? You witch doctor. Cole stopped halfway through his accusation. He sighed and shook his head. Elvis did not know much about medicine, but he could understand one thing. Gu Meng Meng was not normal and she was in danger. Elvis grabbed Cole's neck and pushed him against the wall, choking him tightly. "Speak clearly, what happened to Xiao Meng?" Chapter 1561. What do you mean? Elvis asked. Cole took a deep breath and said, "You still don't understand. The female in Gu's stomach is absorbing the energy of the tear of the beast deity and love of the sky. If this continues, Gu's stomach will explode in less than 3 months and 2 lives will be lost." Elvis took a step back and his stomach exploded. 1 dead and 2 lives. These simple words exploded in Elvis's mind like a sudden clap of thunder. He turned to look at Leah with much difficulty and said with clenched teeth, "This child cannot be left alive. Everything that could endanger Gu Meng Meng must be eradicated, no matter if this child was Li's or his." When Gu Meng Meng gave birth to Kanwu, he would not hesitate to kill Kanwu to protect Gu Meng Meng if Gu Meng Meng did not threaten to kill herself. Now that this child was Li's, he would do the same. In this world, no one or thing was more important than Gu Meng Meng, including themselves. Cole said coldly, Gu will not agree to it. You don't have to worry. Elvis looked at Leah with a black face and said, I will be the bad guy. No matter how angry Xiao Meng is after this, I will bear the responsibility alone. You, take good care of her. Leah pulled Elvis back and said, calm down first. You can't bear to. Elvis asked back with a sinister gaze. Leah shook his head and said, in my eyes, no one can be compared to Gu Meng Meng. If she is threatened, I will personally kill this child. But if there is a way to not hurt Gu Meng Meng, why should we let her cry? Elvis was stunned and looked at Leah in confusion. Leah turned to look at Cole and said, what do you mean by opening the doors of time and space in advance? Cole said, when the doors of time and space open, the 7 treasures will reunite. This means that the tear of the beast deity and love of the sky will be removed from her body. This way, the child in her stomach will not be able to absorb the energy of the 7 treasures and the problem will be solved. Lee's gaze shifted down and said, but the spirit of the rocky cliffs has not appeared yet. Cole chuckled and said, the spirit of the rocky cliffs has not appeared because I am not in enough pain. Perhaps, when Gu's eyes were filled with hatred and she personally pierced through my left chest and touched that heart, the spirit of the rocky cliffs would appear. Leah frowned and contemplated for a long time. He shook his head and said, you have already explained everything to her in the past. Based on her personality, she is filled with guilt towards you and can't bear to do anything to you at all. Cole took 2 steps back and revealed a sly and despicable smile. Making her hate me is my forte. What do you want? Leah was confused. Cole's bloodshot eyes widened as he glared at Leah. I want you to die. All the energy in Lee's body seemed to have been sucked dry in an instant. He fell to the ground with blood flowing out of his 7 orifices. The wrath of the Beast King. Elvis glared furiously at Cole. Cole sneered and said, "Why? Lord Wolf King wants to kill me." "Ha, then you have to think carefully. If I die now, the spirit of the rocky cliffs will not be able to appear, and the one in Gu's stomach will take her life. Just based on fighting skills, I am indeed weaker than you. But all is fair in war. You have no way to retaliate." With that, Cole turned ruthless and directly reached for Elvis's chest. He crushed his heart without hesitation. Gu Meng Meng, who had just fallen asleep, was awakened by the intense pain from the 2 mating marks. She lay on the bed like a fish on water, gasping for air. Her eyes were wide open and she suppressed her tears as she shouted, "Elvis, Leah. Respond to me, respond to me. Aside from the topic, hold back your tears, you are not allowed to cry." Susu did not want to torture Elvis and Leah, nor did she want to torture Gu Meng Meng. Susu wanted to torture Cole. As long as the doors of time and space opened, Gu Meng Meng would have a chance to make a wish. By then, Elvis and Leah would be revived. So as long as it is not a sad ending, you are not allowed to cry. Also, hold down those little claws that want to mail a kitchen knife. Other than the monthly tickets, Susu refuses to accept anything else. Humph. Chapter 1562. Elvis and Leah didn't answer her. There was only the sound of soft, wet footsteps approaching her, step by step. Gu Meng Meng stood up abruptly, her eyes fixed on the entrance of the cave. Sure enough, a white figure appeared there. He had an evil and arrogant smile on his face, and he was holding a beating heart in one hand. "Ah Gu, now, you finally belong to me alone." Gu Meng Meng glared at Cole, her eyes instantly filled with blood vessels. It was as if all the blood in her body had frozen, turning indescribably cold. Cole casually threw that heart at Gu Meng Meng's feet, then used his blood-stained hand to cover Gu Meng Meng's lower abdomen. He laughed sinisterly. "Now, I just need to kill this child, then you will have nothing left. The only person you can rely on is me. I will kill you." Gu Meng Meng suddenly raised her head and strangled Cole's neck. Cole didn't resist. He just looked at Gu Meng Meng with a cold smile. "Don't care about Qi Xian anymore. Are you going to kill Qi Xian with your own hands for 2 dead partners? You." The veins on Gu Meng Meng's forehead bulged. Her gums were bleeding from her clenched teeth. But Cole smiled calmly. "I'm not afraid to tell you that it's very easy to dissolve my relationship with Qi Xian. You just need to say you love me. But, can you say it?" Gu Meng Meng gritted her teeth and glared at Cole. "I love you." She enunciated each word clearly. At the same time, her right hand pierced through Cole's left chest and pinched his heart. Cole held on to Gu Meng Meng's wrist that was pierced through his chest. He smiled with much difficulty. "Again, cough. I still want to hear it one more time, to hear you say you love me one more time." Gu Meng Meng's eyes were so red that it looked like she was crying blood. She was like a demonized Rakshasa, without the slightest bit of mercy. She slowly tightened her grip on Cole's chest, forcefully breaking every blood vessel connected to his heart. Cole knew that he would never have the chance to hear her say she loved him a second time. He could clearly feel what her hand was doing in his chest, but he did not feel angry, nor did he feel fear. He just stared straight at Gu Meng Meng, wanting to take one more look at her before he lost consciousness. If Gu Meng Meng had the ability to listen to other people's thoughts, she would have heard Cole saying, "Ah Gu, are you here to kill me? You're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Aw Goo, out of the 100 things I made you remember me for, there is finally one that makes you happy, right? You finally cut open my chest and dug out my heart with your own hands. Are you happy? If you're happy, can you not forget me for the sake of this happiness? Even if it's a painful memory every time you think of me, don't forget me. It doesn't matter if you scold me or hate me. It's fine as long as you remember me. Cole raised his hand with difficulty, his blood-stained hand reaching towards Gu Mingming's head. He really wanted to rub her furry little head. He had never combed her hair with the beast horn comb that he had personally made for her. Gu Mengmeng pulled her hand out from Cole's chest without hesitation. Just like how he held on to Elvis's heart just now, she was also holding on to his heart. Chapter 1563. But it didn't matter, he didn't have any regrets. Because at that moment, Gu Mengmeng only saw him in her eyes. Aw Gu, didn't you always want me to be in pain and want me to die? You have fulfilled your wish now, so don't blink, don't turn your head, just keep looking at me like this. Before I die, look at me one more time, just one more time. I beg of you. Unfortunately, Gu Mengmeng was destined not to hear Cole's pleas. Her heart was completely on Elvis and Leah, so she threw Cole's heart on the ground without hesitation and ran out of the cave to find Elvis and Leah without a shred of reluctance. She didn't see that the moment she turned her head, that bloody heart that rolled on the ground turned into stone inch by inch. His heart was like a rock when he couldn't get what he wanted. His heart didn't die when she pierced through his chest, but when she turned around and left without hesitation, that was the most painful moment for him. He didn't ask for much, as long as she looked at him one more time. And this dying wish was already an extravagant wish. She didn't love him after all, so he wouldn't share any of his soft-heartedness with her. Aw Gu, you keep saying that I'm vicious. But how can my viciousness compare to yours? In the end, Cole took his last breath, his murky eyes staring in the direction that Gu Mengmeng had left. A patch of tender green pierced through his right chest and quickly grew into a branch. If Gu Mengmeng could still remember, the place where the branch grew out was the hole that she personally dug in Oakley's chest when he died. Outside the cave, Gu Mengmeng sat paralyzed on the ground, hugging Elvis who had a huge hole in his chest and his heart missing. Her other hand was desperately grabbing onto Leah, who was bleeding from all 7 orifices. She cried so hard that she couldn't even make a single sound. That kind of sorrow couldn't be described with words. At the same time, 7 beams of light pierced through the air. Gu Mingming's love of the sky, tear of the beast deity, the 2 hearts in the cave, spirit of the rocky cliffs and heart of the desert, the soul of the forest that grew out of Cole's right chest, the key of the beast king on the Moda Mountains, the kiss of the ocean in Zacharias. Gu Mingming's body went limp and she lost consciousness, fainting in the light beams. Gu Mingming's consciousness sank into chaos and she did not know where she was. It was as if she was a wandering soul looking at the world from a third person's perspective. The scene was not the beast world, but modern times. The scene was set in a very luxurious hall. There were many people in the hall, all dressed in bright clothes. They gathered together and whispered to each other. Gu Mengmeng slowly approached and realized that there was a European-style sofa in the middle of the crowd. An elderly man and a young lady were sitting on the sofa. Wasn't that girl her? Just as Gu Mengmeng was feeling puzzled, she suddenly felt the world spinning around her. It was as if she had done countless somersaults, and when her view changed again, she was already the one sitting on the sofa. There was a hand on his shoulder. The joints of the hand were distinct, slender and strong. He whispered in her ear, "Don't be afraid. Mom and Dad will stand up for you. Just be good and watch the show." Gu Mengmeng turned around in shock and met with that pair of dark green eyes. She was stunned for 2 seconds before saying, "See. Neek?" Snakel chuckled and pinched Gu Mingming's little nose, saying, "Didn't I tell you how to call me?" Anik. Gu Mengmeng tried calling out softly. Chapter 1564. Gu Mingming's eyes were red as she bit her lower lip. Her thoughts were in a mess and she could not think of anything. She just felt a sharp pain in her heart and her tears fell down one by one. Snake's mother's heart ached at the sight. What kind of joke was this? This was her precious daughter-in-law who could stabilize her son. How could she bear to suffer such a huge grievance? Even if she brought back F country, the entire family would treat her with respect and could not bear to say a harsh word to her. But here, she was being bullied to tears. Hubby. The woman used her elbow to nudge her husband lightly. The husband turned around and saw his precious daughter-in-law crying. His anger flared up immediately. No one is saying anything right. All right, then don't say anything. Someone, call the consulate. Don't. Duke, please calm down first. A man in a suit who looked like he was in charge of public relations immediately stood up. He waved his hand behind him and took a tray from someone beside him. There was a stack of documents on the tray. He smiled apologetically. This is a gift from the Mo family as an apology on behalf of our daughter. All the assets and documents that can be prepared within an hour are all here. After compensating all these, the Mo family will only have one house left. This kind of compensation is also very sincere. How about? Snake carried Gu Mengmeng up from the sofa and hugged her in his arms. He said calmly, "My woman does not sell her tears." With that, he carried Gu Mengmeng away. Originally, he only wanted to punish her lightly and let his parents help Gu Mengmeng make the decision. He wanted to give Gu Mengmeng the warmth of a family. As for how far his parents could go, he did not care. But now, the situation was different. Gu Mengmeng cried. Making her cry would escalate the situation. It was definitely not a problem that could be solved with money. After Snakel left, the two elders' faces turned extremely gloomy. They exchanged glances and understood that their son was not going to be kind. But he was busy coaxing his wife, so he left this matter to them. If they did not handle it well, they could forget about letting their son return to F country. So, the two of them used the dignity of the F country's royal family and forcefully escalated this small matter into a diplomatic dispute between the two countries. And Snake could no longer be bothered with all these. He placed Gu Mengmeng in the car and sped all the way to Monster Company's CEO's office. He did not release his grip on the steering wheel even when the car was traveling at 140 miles per hour, as if he was afraid that Gu Mengmeng would disappear the moment he let go. But strangely, he didn't say anything along the way. He just held her hand tightly and even trembled slightly. The moment Snake entered the CEO's office, he immediately took out the set of wedding rings that he had ordered long ago from the drawer. He held Gu Mingming's hand and said, "Tu Meng, He Chen used 7 years to exchange for Zhao Maxing, Yang Gui used 16 years to exchange for Xiao Longnu, Feng Qingshui used 900 years to exchange for Bailey Tusu. What about me? Can I use the past 1,000 years and this life to exchange for you?" Snake. This place is. I'm not. Gu Mingming's pupils trembled violently. Her dazed state along the way slowly became clear. This was not the Beast world, nor was it the modern world. It was the television series that she had watched with the Beast deity. Chapter 1565. Snake slowly let go of Gu Mengmeng. He no longer wrapped his arms around her, but held one of her hands. Then, he slowly knelt down with one knee on the ground. He looked up at Gu Mengmeng and said, "Tu Meng, I said before, I will only propose once in my life. Marry me, all right? The illusion you mentioned just now." Snake maintained his kneeling position and smiled. "You appearing here means that the doors of time and space have already opened." This is your original world, a four-legged snake, with your family and friends. As long as you are willing to come back, everything that happened in the past 19 years will become your memory. I will let you live in bliss for the rest of your life. But if you still want to return to the beast world, then everything here will just be an illusion, a dream that I spent 19 years in. Snake opened the ring box. A pair of snake-shaped rings lay quietly inside. 2 snakes shared a snake gallbladder. Snake said before that when they were together, they were a complete pair of snakes. But if they were separated, the gallbladder would belong to the female snake. The male snake would not have a gallbladder and would definitely die. Tu Meng, don't let me lose you again. Marry me, all right? Countless memories squeezed into Gu Mingming's brain. Those television dramas that she watched with the beast deity were all replaced with her own memories. It was as if she had always been in a relationship with Snake. The memories of the two worlds intertwined and collided with each other. Gu Mengmeng only felt a splitting headache. She held her head and shook it continuously. She wanted to scream but could not make a sound. Snake was worried and his heart ached. He hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly and said deeply, Tu Meng, don't be afraid. It's all right. I'm here, I will protect you. Forget everything in the beast world. Stay here. And I will accompany you, all right? No. No. Gu Mengmeng clenched her teeth, her eyes bloodshot. She could not let go of Elvis and Leah. They were still lying in a pool of blood. The tragic deaths of Elvis and Leah kept flashing through her mind, as well as the promise she made on the day she mated with Elvis. She said, Elvis, I love you. I will give myself to you. From now on, I will treat you as my pride, my sky, and my husband. If you don't leave me, I will be with you in life. If you are in danger, I will use my life to pay for it. She had promised Elvis and Leah that no matter how many lies she had told, there was at least one thing that she would never lie to them. She would never abandon them, never. I want to go back, I want to return to the beast world. Gu Mengmeng screamed. She bit the tip of her tongue harshly to keep herself awake. She told herself that these messy memories could not be trusted. Everything about Snake was seen on television with the beast deity in the beast world. Those memories did not belong to her. She reminded herself cruelly, Snake was already dead, the person in front of her was just an illusion. I want Elvis, I want Leah, I don't want you. No. Gu Mengmeng screamed with all her might, using all her strength to push Snake away. Snake stumbled backwards and the ring fell to the ground. The male and female snake separated from each other. The female snake had an extra gem, while the male snake was missing a gallbladder. The scene in front of him was distorted, like an oil painting soaked in water. With a light brush of the water, the oil paint faded away. Chapter 1566. The white fog had long dissipated and this was Gu Mingming's illusion. She looked around secretly but did not see the beast deity. Father, father, where are you? Come out quickly. I need you, father. Gu Mengmeng was sobbing and could not form a sentence or sentence. She could only run around aimlessly, shouting and begging. Vaguely, some shadows gradually formed into human shapes in the air. Gu Mengmeng rubbed her eyes and looked carefully. Frowning, Gu Mengmeng could not help but call out her name, Wang Xiaoxin. Wang Xiaoxin smiled faintly with a tinge of guilt and heartache. She took 2 steps forward and hugged Gu Mengmeng gently in her arms. Child, thank you, and, sorry. Gu Mingming's mind was still in a mess. Everything happened too suddenly and she could not make heads or tails of it. Wang Xiaoxin felt Gu Mingming's stiffness and held her shoulders with both hands. You don't have to be so guarded, we are not strangers, right? You, maybe, if I change my stance, you will be more relaxed. With that, Wang Xiaoxin's features became blurry in front of Gu Mengmeng, then slowly, she turned into a white-robed, ethereal fairy-like beast deity. You. Gu Mengmeng felt that she had millions of questions to ask, but they were all stuck in her throat and she could not say a single word. Sorry, I lied to you. Wang Xiaoxin held Gu Mengmeng's hand and sat back on that two-seater wooden chair. She still had a guilty smile on her face and sighed, the beast deity will not lie. This sentence itself is the biggest lie. Sorry, I lied to you right from the start. But please believe that I have no ill intentions. Gu Mengmeng jumped up from the chair and sniffled, Elvis. Elvis and Leah, don't panic, calm down and listen to me. That's my man, how can I not panic? Gu Mengmeng tugged at the corner of the beast deity's shirt and said, no matter what you lied to me, I will not hold it against you. Return Elvis and Leah to me, I beg you, return them to me. Wang Xiaoxin sighed and looked to the side with a dark gaze. Gu Mengmeng followed Wang Xiaoxin's gaze and saw a huge door. It was so huge that one could see the edge of it. She could only see a small gap in the door and the person standing in the gap was Snake. Child, you asked me before if what you saw Snake experiencing in that world was a fantasy. I told you it wasn't. Whether this is true or not is up to you. With the 7 treasures gathered, the gate of time and space opened. If you cross over to the other side of the door, everything you saw about Snake will be your real memory and not an illusion. Wang Xiaoxin stood up behind Gu Mengmeng and held her shoulders lightly with both hands, saying, Elvis and Leah are already dead, what's there for you to miss in the beast world? Why don't you transmigrate back to the modern world? With Snake protecting you and taking care of you, you can definitely live a happy life. As for everything that happened in the beast world, I will help you erase it and make you forget about it, as if it had never happened. This way, you won't be in pain. Just like what we see in the TV series, you will have a simple and happy life. This is my compensation to you, okay? Chapter 1567. Gu Mengmeng bit her lower lip tightly and after a while, she apologized with a heavy sobbing tone, "Ah, hell, I'm sorry." Snake's brows were tightly knitted and did not relax, but his tightly pursed lips slowly relaxed, curling into a helpless smile. He stood there looking at the tears in Gu Mengmeng's eyes and sighed with a smile. Then, he took a step forward and stepped out of the door, standing in the same world as Gu Mengmeng. That step had almost peeled off a layer of his skin. The pressure and friction from crossing through time and space made him feel unbearable pain, but he just gritted his teeth and endured it. He could not show any signs of weakness in front of Tu Meng. He had to be strong to protect her, no matter where he was. With his palm facing up, Snake took 2 deep breaths to calm himself down before saying, Tu Meng, come here. It was as if Gu Mengmeng's feet did not belong to her as she took small steps towards Snake. Her eyes were fixated on his face the entire time and the closer she got, the louder she sobbed. This was the man who had cut open his own chest for her. This was the man who had left his own world to go to a completely unfamiliar place to create a perfect future for her. This was the man who had once again crossed time and space for her. He was not stingy at all when he had spent 19 years of hard work for her. For a mere Gu Mengmeng, he had tossed his status, money, glory, respect and even his life to the back of his mind. And what about her? Other than hurting him time and time again, what else had she done? Snake maintained his palm facing up as he waited for Gu Mengmeng to place her hand in his. But when Gu Mengmeng walked to him, she did not hold his hand but just pounced into his arms, hugging him tightly like a lost child, panicking and helpless, hugging a loved one and crying her heart out. Choking with sobs, she said, "Ah, hell, what should I do? Elvis and Leah are dead, what should I do? I'm so scared. I have nothing left," sob sob sob. "Ah, hell, what should I do? This was the first time Gu Mengmeng had voluntarily thrown herself into his arms, the first time she had sought his help and the first time she had unreservedly displayed her weakness in front of him. Snake hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly with both hands, his lips curling into a deep smile. The things that he had once envied to the point of madness and jealousy to the point of wanting to kill had finally happened to him. At that time, he had questioned her, look for Elvis when you're sad, look for Leah when you're injured, then when will you think of me? Now, she was looking for him. She hugged him and asked, what should we do? "Aw, Peng, what should I do? I'm so scared." It turned out that having a dream come true was not necessarily a happy thing. He would rather be envious and jealous for the rest of his life than let her cry like a child who had lost everything. Pressing his lips against the side of her ear, he gently kissed it and said in a deep and husky voice, "Who said you have nothing left? You still have me. Don't forget, no matter which world you are in, I'm an omnipotent powerhouse." Chapter 1568. Gu Mingming's tears were still hanging on her face as she stared at Snake with eyes full of anticipation. Snakel smiled as he pulled her back into his arms. He said deeply, "I've been through a lot in the mortal world, and it's all because of you. Tu Meng, you must remember, you're the only person in this world who can ride on my shoulders. So, don't be afraid, don't cry, wait for me to come back." Gu Mengmeng did not know what Snake wanted to do. She just felt a sharp pain in her heart. Instinctively, she grabbed onto Snake's clothes tightly. She did not know what she was denying and just shook her head violently out of instinct. Snake smiled and kissed her lips. This was the first time he truly kissed her. He kissed the real Gu Mengmeng. He pulled her into his arms forcefully, wishing he could rub her into his own chest. He said, "In the end, Zhuang Zhou dreamed of a butterfly. You are a blessing and also a calamity. Tu Meng, do you know? From the first time I saw you, I heard the beast deity whispering these words in my ear, there is no escape from this calamity." Gu Mengmeng felt that Snake, who was in her arms, seemed to have turned into nothingness. He was like a colorful bubble dancing in the summer wind, drifting further and further away. She could not catch up to him, catch him or touch him. "Aw Kel. Aw Kel, don't. Gu Mengmeng tried her best to hold on to Snake, but he eventually disappeared bit by bit. He stared at Gu Mengmeng with a smile the entire time. His last words were, "In the previous life and this life, I waited for you twice. This time, it is your turn to wait for me. Wait for me to come back. Don't abandon me again. Tu Meng, I love you." Aw Kel. Gu Mengmeng screamed at the top of her lungs. But she could not summon Snake back. Once again, Snake had disappeared for her once again. That huge door slowly closed with Snake's disappearance. Creak, crack. Gu Mengmeng looked at the closed door of time and space. She laid on the ground and could not get up. She opened her mouth and cried miserably, but could not make a single sound. After the door disappeared, a few figures appeared. It was as if they were originally standing behind the door and were blocked. "Xian, I'm back." The largest figure walked past Gu Mengmeng and directly stood in front of Wang Xiaoxin, hugging her in his arms. Wang Xiaoxin's eyes reddened. She tightly leaned into that person's embrace. Her heart, which had been calm for 1,000 years, was now surging. Her eyes were crying, but her lips were smiling. She choked with sobs for a while before saying, "I hate you to death. Why did you make me wait for so long? Sorry, I'm late." That person hugged Wang Xiaoxin and kissed the top of her head. After hugging for a long time, he let out a sigh of relief and said, "Let's settle this little trouble first. If you continue to cry, you'll die." "Yes." Wang Xiaoxin nodded. Her eyes were filled with melancholy as she said indifferently, "Did I do something wrong?" The man replied, "In my eyes, everything about you is correct." Wang Xiaoxin chuckled and leaned into the man's arms. "Wales, you've changed. 1,000 years ago, you wouldn't have such a glib tongue." Wales did not comment. He just carried Wang Xiaoxin in front of Gu Mengmeng. Then, he kicked Gu Mengmeng from behind and said, "Hey, Gu Tu Meng, when are you going to stop crying? My son used his own life to close the door of time and space for you. Aren't you going to make a wish to exchange for your two good-for-nothings?" Chapter 1569. But with Gu Mingming's current mood, she really did not have the time to bother about who that person was. She just nodded her head hurriedly and placed her palms together in front of her chest, praying sincerely for Elvis and Leah to return. Gu Mengmeng kept her eyes shut, praying again and again in her heart. Until a familiar and warm embrace embraced her gently, whispering into her ear, "Xiao Meng, sorry for making you worry." Gu Mengmeng suddenly opened her eyes, staring at the person in front of her without blinking. He looked down from above, like a deity. A head of black and lush hair casually draped behind him, as if it was dyed with ink, giving off a unique charm. Under a pair of straight eyebrows was a pair of slender peach blossom eyes, full of passion, making one fall into his eyes if they were not careful. He had a tall nose and moderately thick red lips, revealing a dazzling smile. "Hubby." Without another word, Gu Mengmeng directly pounced into Elvis's arms and hugged him tightly, crying, "You scared me to death. I thought I would never see you again." Sob, sob, sob. "How could you abandon me? You said that you would always take care of me, protect me, and not let me feel uneasy. How could you not keep your words?" Elvis allowed Gu Mengmeng to pound and hit his chest, only smiling and indulging her everything. He gently held her little fists and pressed them against his chest, kissing the top of her head, saying, "Yeah, it's my fault, it's all my fault. Xiao Meng only has eyes for him." A furry tail swayed lightly, and a slender arm wrapped around Gu Mengmeng's waist. He did not pull Gu Mengmeng out from Elvis's arms, but stuck himself into Gu Mengmeng's arms in a flirtatious manner. Looking up, his slender and affectionate eyes were full of deep love, his thin lips outlined the contours of his face, making him look like a demon or a deity. That flirtatious blink of an eye made the entire world lose its color. "Let me see, Ioyo, your eyes are swollen from crying. You're crying so hard, looks like I've made a serious mistake this time." "Then Xiao Mengmeng, how are you going to punish me? Are you going to throw potatoes or pull my ears? I promise I won't dodge. Or, if you want to whip me with a small leather whip, that's fine too, get lost." Gu Mengmeng scolded with a thick nasal voice, but both her hands were wrapped tightly around Li's neck. She cried tears of joy when she regained what she had lost. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng while Gu Mengmeng hugged Leah. The scene of the three of them together had completed the entire world. The smile at the corner of her lips made the tears on her face look happy. After a long while, Wang Xiaoxin and Wales walked up to them after Elvis and Leah had calmed her down. Wang Xiaoxin pulled Gu Mengmeng's little hand and said guiltily, "I'm sorry, I made you go through all these hardships. Also, thank you for returning him to me." Gu Mengmeng looked at the beast deity whom she had always called father and felt a little awkward. He opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. Gu Mengmeng did not say anything, but Leah narrowed his eyes and took a step forward to stand between Gu Mengmeng and Wales. He asked with a guarded expression, "Xiao Mengmeng, who is he?" Returning him to her. These three words sounded like adultery no matter how one listened to it. Chapter 1570. Thinking of this possibility, Li's face darkened instantly. He turned to look at Gu Mengmeng with a complicated gaze. He did not know how long he had been dead. If it was many years, Gu Mengmeng needed someone to take care of her. This snake beast in front of him was strong enough. With him taking care of Gu Meng Meng, at least she would not be bullied, but he felt really uncomfortable in his heart. Unbeknownst to him, there were other males cooking for her, making clothes for her, feeding her, hugging her, coaxing her, and even, after being partners for 3 to 4 years, Gu Meng Meng had enough understanding of Leah. Most of the time, he was all smiles and there were not many people who could make him change his expression. So looking at Lee's changing expression, Gu Meng Meng did not even need to think with her toes to know what he was thinking. So she hurriedly shook her head and denied, "I don't know him, I really don't know him." "Really?" Leo looked at Gu Meng Meng's little face carefully, thinking about the possibility of her returning him to him because he and Elvis had woken up and did not need this snake beast anymore. Seeing her pair of red eyes filled with sincerity and urgency, he heaved a sigh of relief and nodded, "It's all right if you know him. Elvis and I are back, you don't need any other males by your side anymore." Wang Xiaoxin wanted to say something but before she could open her mouth, Wales was already in a difficult position. He whipped Leah to one side with his snake tail and said, "Little fox, I was too good-tempered when I was in deep sleep, did I spoil you? Don't need any other males. My son dug out his own gall to exchange for her life, and now he sacrificed his life to exchange for the two of you. Now you say that Gu Meng Meng doesn't need any other males. Ha!" Leo was flung far away and he stood up while holding his chest. He had originally thought that this snake beast wanted to challenge Gu Meng Meng's partner to fight for the right to be his partner, so Leo was prepared to fight to the death. But these words, why did it sound different as he listened on? Gu Meng Meng also looked at Wales with a dumbfounded expression and asked carefully, "You are, little shit?" "Yeah." Wales responded in an extremely impatient manner, but after replying, he felt aggrieved. He turned to look at Gu Meng Meng and said, "Gu Tu Meng, open your eyes wide for me to see, this is how I really look like, do I look like shit? Do I? Aw." This fiery temper, yes, it was little shit without a doubt. Gu Meng Meng sniffled. She did not know why but she felt so touched that she wanted to cry. She lost all the people who mattered to her in one day, and then on the same day, all the people who mattered to her came back into her life one by one. The joy of regaining something she had lost made her nose sting. Rubbing her nose, she laughed and retorted, "You have to show your true form and roll up, then I will know if you look like shit." Wales did not hesitate and directly revealed his original form, coiling up in front of Gu Meng Meng. He was no longer the same yellow as before. Instead, he was a silvery white, as if the 1,000-year-old ice on the Moda Mountains had formed on his scales. He was dazzling, elegant and cool. Gu Meng Meng shook her head and said, "It doesn't look like it, it doesn't look like shit, it looks like lazy hair, it looks like McDonald's ice cream, it looks like white shit." Wales, who had just transformed into his human form, wanted to clear his name and tell Gu Meng Meng not to call him little shit in the future. In the end, he choked on Gu Meng Meng's last sentence. He pointed at Gu Meng Meng's nose and roared, "Gu Meng Meng. Aside from the topic, everyone could see it, right?" This was the end of the chapter. Everyone would accompany me to the end of the last journey, right? Chapter 1571. Gu Meng Meng hugged Wales and sniffled, saying, "Little shit, congratulations on finally reviving." Wales was caught off guard by Gu Meng Meng's sudden sentimentality. He clicked his tongue and poked Gu Meng Meng's head in disdain, pushing her back into Elvis's arms, saying, "How dare you hug me so casually in front of my female? Even if you don't want your face, I still want it." Gu Meng Meng laughed softly and nestled back into Elvis's arms obediently. After pausing for 2 seconds, Gu Meng Meng started to look around. Not seeing anyone else, she frowned and asked, "Where's Gregory? Didn't you say that after Wales completely revives, he doesn't need to guard the Moda Mountains anymore and can revive together with him? Where is he?" Wang Xiaoxin pursed her lips and waved her hand lightly. A cloud of fog gathered and spread out, and another male stood there. The feathers growing upwards from his ears indicated his race. Gu Mengmeng didn't recognize this male, but she recognized his wings. Those ice-like wings had once grown on her shoulders. Gu Mengmeng instinctively turned around and adjusted her shoulder blades with force, realizing that the pair of wings had really disappeared. So, the item had returned to its original owner. Little female, we meet again. That male looked at Gu Mengmeng with a cold gaze, neither angry nor smiling. This look was very familiar. When she first met Gregory, he also had this aloof and arrogant look. You are the bird that guarded the Moda Mountains for 1,000 years. Gu Mengmeng tried to figure it out and asked. The male nodded and said, I am Samuel, one of Xiao Xiao's males. I saw you at the peak of the Moda Mountains. I was entrusted by a little nestling to take care of you. Little nestling, compared to the 1,000-year-old Samuel, the 10-year-old Gregory was indeed a little nestling. Then what about Gregory? Since you are already awake, why didn't Gregory come along? Gu Mengmeng asked. Samuel looked at Gu Mengmeng calmly and said after a long while, I stayed at the Moda Mountains to guard Whale's original body. Since Whales has revived, I naturally revived as well. But that little fledgling of yours isn't guarding Whales. Ha! Gu Mengmeng did not understand. Samuel glanced at Whales and replied, fate is so similar. How Xiao Xiao treated you back then, this lass will treat your son the same way she treated you. And no matter what choice you made back then, your son will do the same. Everyone says that snake beasts are cold and indifferent by nature. Could it be that all the snake beasts' infatuation has been taken over by you and your son? You are also willing to split yourself into pieces and scatter in the beast world for 1,000 years to fulfill your lover. TSK, this is really touching. After Samuel finished, he turned to look at Gu Mengmeng and said, Moda Mountain is a volcano, do you know that? Gu Mengmeng nodded. She had seen Moda crying blood before, so she knew that the Moda Mountains were actually volcanoes. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.